Campus boards are oddly divisive. Don't do it. You'll just get injured.
But all of the best climbers use them.
So does that mean we should do it?
What if I can't use it? What if I'm not strong enough?
Should there be foot rungs?
I just read a post that said they're useless and aren't effective for training power anyway.
Well, I think I can help make some sense of this. I'm Kris Hampton. You're watching Take Tips from Power Company Climbing. There's more information out there than ever. When I first started Power Company Climbing, there were very few training blogs, no training podcasts for climbers, maybe one other remote climbing coach, and honestly, very few reputable sources for information on how to improve. Speaking of which, shout out to those folks who paved the way: Eric Hurst, Dave McLeod, Udo Newman, the Anderson brothers, and more. You know who you are. Anyway, that lack of information, or of people willing to offer advice, is certainly no longer the case. It's quite the opposite now. There's so much out there to wade through. Never mind spending time to parse it out, verify the claims made, or think critically about the applicability of all of this information. There are hundreds, maybe thousands of internet coaches at this point, dozens of podcasts, all doing the same interviews on the same topics, and millions of posts and videos telling you exactly how to train. And that's the root of our problem. But the problem itself, that's us, and how we continuously collect these things. See, nowadays, a trainer can just make a post about how useful an exercise is that they literally made up 2 minutes earlier and have never tested. They mention that science says so, and we just buy it. That person is suddenly an expert because science. What we don't see is that they based this new exercise on a wild extrapolation they pulled from a study about how plyometrics affects a sedentary population of adults over 65, and then they suggest that 13-year-old competition climbers should be doing exactly this protocol. Yeah, that really happened, and people bought it. I suspect that there are some youth coaches out there who jumped right on it and are maybe still using that protocol. And it happened because we have become collectors of dots. Climbers looking to improve, coaches trying to make their mark, organizations hoping to pull people in. We've all, partly due to our desire to improve and fit in, and partly due to our nearly extinct attention spans, become collectors of dots, collectors of protocols and exercises and magic bullets and oversimplified aphorisms, rather than connectors of dots. Because connecting dots requires investing time and investigating underlying principles and interrogating complex interactions rather than simply drawing a one-to-one causal relationship. And look, I get it. Collecting dots is a lot of fun. You scroll through Instagram or YouTube or listen to the latest episode interviewing Alex Honnold about how he trains. You pick out the things you want, drop them in your basket, and move along to the next aisle. What's Adam Aldra doing this week? Great, I'll take one of those as well. Drop it in my basket. We're good. Thing is, it's a bottomless basket, and we treat it as such, day in and day out, collecting more and more dots. Endless dots. Rarely, if ever, do we linger on one single dot for any length of time. Unless, of course, we're talking about finger strength protocols, and for some reason, we've lingered there for years. But we've long forgotten about all of those other dots at the bottom of the basket. And it's even more rare that we connect two dots together in a meaningful way. And honestly, it's probably those dots at the bottom of your basket that are necessary to form a complete picture. But why would we linger on those old things? We can't. We need to post every single day on 7 different platforms, weekly podcast episodes and YouTube videos, shorts, reels, stories, threads, tweets, or X's. Lots of dots. And if we aren't posting, we're scrolling those same jam-packed platforms. And with the amount of content we have to produce and consume in order to stay relevant, when on earth would we have time to connect any of those dots? I mean, take for example what I'm doing right now. This is going to be a blog post, a podcast episode, a YouTube video, an Instagram post, a newsletter, probably a reel or two. I'll spend an extra few hours just to give the same thing to 5 or 6 different audiences. And the whole thing gets pushed to you with the clickbait title of What We're All Doing Wrong. And the fact is, this isn't even really about you or about me. It's about us, about our relationship. So for me, what it comes down to is that for now, I'm done collecting dots. I'll do my best to stop giving you disconnected dots to collect. Because like I said, this sharing of information is a relationship. It can't be about me showing you how smart I am. It has to be me trying to help us and hoping that you further the conversation so the collective we can get smarter together. I'll be telling you more in coming months about how I plan to continue connecting dots. But I'm getting off track here, and I realize I'm being a little obtuse. So let's back up and look a little more closely at the difference between collecting dots and connecting dots. The way I see it, there's really one major thing that happens when we connect dots that is entirely lost in mass dot collection. And that thing is critical thinking. Let's take, for example, the campus board. Developed by Wolfgang Gulich in the early 90s to help him prepare for Action Direct, it became the de facto way that climbers trained power. Wolfgang used it for a powerful route, so grab that dot and put it in your bag for power, right? But recently, if you pay attention, some coaches got a few velocity measurements on themselves and their friends and have said that we aren't really using the campus board as a tool to train power in the technical sense because we can't move fast enough. They've gone as far as to say that campus boards are useless. And look, they may be right. Not about campus boards being useful or useless, but just about the power training aspect. But maybe not. They only measured velocity and not force, so they never figured out the actual power expressed or even understood the full picture of rate of force development in climbing. So they really had nothing to compare against. And the thing is, I don't really care if they're right or not. It's one dot. I've collected and connected lots of obvious dots that point to something else. Because power, as we express it in climbing, is not just a singular dot. It's not simply force times speed as science uses it. It's not just the rate of force development. It's not one singular spot at the middle of the force velocity curve. It's not as simple as an infographic. When we discuss power while climbing, we can't ignore the technique used to initiate the explosive movement, the understanding of trajectory and release of tension, the timing and coordination needed. And that doesn't even factor in the mental space required to use momentum or the commitment needed to actually latch the target hold. Because for many, that feels a lot like losing control. Power is a lot of dots, all interconnected, that in application are absolutely inseparable. And we also know that these types of movements are best practiced in a low-stakes, low-stress environment. at least initially. And for many people, that's not outside. It's not in a complicated gym boulder. It's not while everyone who's also working on the same boulder is watching. Instead, initially, we want to learn these key dots while doing the simplest movements possible in a low-stakes environment before we move on to those complicated gym boulders. Which, well, sounds like a good argument for a campus board. You put foot rungs on it, and it's even better. Frankly, it's shocking to me that so many gyms still resist installing those foot rungs because it makes a campus board a much more useful tool. Anyway, whether or not we're able to produce the speed to make the campus board a highly effective, strict definition power trainer isn't really the point. We absolutely can use it as a tool to work on all of these other aspects that will contribute to whether or not a powerful move is successful. And successful moves are the goal. Force times speed or rate of force development are simply small aspects of making that move work. And for most of us, likely not the most important aspects. So keep the campus board. It's a useful tool. And sure, keep the dots. Collect them all. Just start connecting them as well. Thanks for watching. I'd love it if you'd subscribe, hit that like button, and tell your friends. Part of connecting more dots for me is going to be making more of these videos. So hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next one. We'll see you next time.